plane about to take off turns back. Find out why the pilot made such a drastic decision.
Another section of the airport cordoned off. Fire, rescue, police, and ambulances called in. We'll tell you why.
Plus, accused drug smugglers hauled before the courts today.
And the New Providence Basketball Association's postseason in full swing. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Line.
A flight is turned back and another plane collapses and kills a man. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Candino Knowles. Well, an aircraft maintenance worker lost his life today at the Lyndon Pindling International Airport.
His death, the result of an unfortunate accident. Operations at the LPIA were not suspended, but the section where the accident happened was cordoned off as police and emergency officials conducted their investigation.
Jimmy DeSwain was first on the scene and fills us in on what unfolded.
What was supposed to be a routine flight inspection Thursday turned horribly wrong and claimed the life of a maintenance worker. Flight Standards Inspectorate Inspector Delvin Major told ZNS News that when he arrived at the scene, the left wing was down and the left landing gear was retracted.
This morning was one of those inspections that we had to do on this particular company, Regional Air Limited. And we had an appointment scheduled for 10 o'clock to meet the company personnel, and I was led to believe that the gentleman who happened to be one of their mechanics, he was doing some final, I guess, preparation.
When our news team arrived at the scene shortly after 10 a.m., emergency crews, police and airport officials were at the cordon scene, and at the center, the Beech 1900 19-seater. Assistant Commissioner of Police Hewlin Hanna.
They went to the aircraft and they were working on the left side of this aircraft when it is believed that the left landing gear collapsed, pinning this individual to the bottom. Sometime thereafter, a local nurse from the Princess Margaret Hospital, who's attached here at the airport, examined the body and pronounced the individual dead.
The plane dropped on the left and top of the man's head. Assistant Commissioner Hanna said the man is believed to be from Florida in his early 40s. Police add that the aircraft is owned by residents of Pembroke Pines. Disruptions to operations at LPIA were minimal.
We've taken every step and every effort to use tarpaulin to secure the area so that inbound aircraft persons are not likely to see this person who is in the condition he is in.
Just as our news team was about to leave this scene, we received some reports that an American outbound aircraft had developed some problems. Now, we attempted to get an official comment from airline officials, but they declined. However, Inspector Major filled us in on what happened.
That an aircraft was actually in the lake, but once we get down there, we were to really investigate. It was not the case. What had actually happened was a JetBlue was about to take off, and for some reason they turned back, and no indication of any smoke or anything. And so, like I said, their mechanics are checking out the aircraft before they decide to proceed back to New York, where they were headed.
Now, the identity of that victim has not been released, but police and civil aviation officials will continue their investigations into today's freak accident. Jimmy DeSwain, ZNS Network News.
Thousands of BTC consumers can expect some major upgrades to their telephone and internet services before year's end. This according to BTC's president and CEO Jeff Houston.
LaDon Davis tells us more about some of the initiatives on tap this year.
Bringing world-class network and infrastructure to the Bahamas has been one of BTC's biggest priorities. And since its privatization 2 years ago, BTC President Jeff Houston says $100 million has been spent to not only put the Bahamas on the cutting edge of technology, but to allow the company to remain open for competition.
Today in the form of Cable Bahamas, and we'll continue to ready the company for that competition. And obviously we're looking for one eye in the future. There will be more competition, we believe, in the market at some point for all of our services, and we've got to be ready for them.
With the possibility that the government could take back 2% of the company, Houston says he's unconcerned and continues to support developing BTC.
Totally, about 80% of our business comes out of Grand Bahama, Abaco, and New Providence. In total, coming out of Grand Bahama, I would imagine 20 to 25% of our business comes out of Grand Bahama.
But that's not all. Houston also talked about the significance of BTC's market in the nation's second city.
We launched our whole approach to our business customers this morning to the business community in Grand Bahama.
Meantime, another project on the agenda is the Next Generation Network, which the company plans to invest some $62 million to replace a 20-year-old radio system and 50-year-old underground cable system. Phase 1 of the network will increase internet reliability, improve the customer experience via One Touch, and Phase 2 will allow customers to plug in and receive internet services in less than 24 hours. The NG network will be made available before the end of the year. LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
We'll first look at weather. Lots of cloud, a nice cool down right now outside of our studios. We have a temperature of 73 degrees under partly cloudy skies, relative humidity 65%. Your winds out of the north at 3 knots, barometric pressure 1,013.3 millibars. That's 29.92 inches, and it is rising. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Farm Bay Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
All right, thanks, Basil. Well, critics continue to insist that there is a plethora of challenges plaguing the country's educational system, from an outdated curriculum and teacher shortages to failing students and high school dropouts. And what's more, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, insists there is a leadership crisis in education, and she's calling for restructuring in the ministry.
I must say that the department is not and has not been in years now getting the type of leadership, the monitoring, the evaluation that is needed to ensure that the teachers who are at the ground level are implementing and carrying out the objectives that education is here for. It's really frustrating. It's a time now for a change in the leadership at the Department of Education. And I'm not just speaking about one individual. I think there has to be an examination of who is sitting at the helm, what qualifications they have, what experience they have.
The B.U.T. president was a special guest of the Rotary Club of West Nassau this afternoon. Another major challenge, she said, is the need for curriculum revision. Ms. Wilson did acknowledge that this process is already taking place, with more emphasis being placed on literacy and numeracy at the elementary levels.
We have already actually agreed in our last agreement that the curriculum will be revised. So we had to again probe and push to get back to the table with the Ministry of Education to ensure that these things are implemented, to ensure that the committees have been put together so that we can get the work done, have the action plan put forward so that we can have some timelines as to when implementation will happen, when teachers will be trained for the new things that we would be implementing. So that's actually been a challenge for us.
After getting a commitment months ago, nearly 1,000 public nurses will finally receive overdue salary increases as early as Friday in the form of vouchers. Nurses Union President Cleola Hamilton confirmed that with our news team this afternoon. Yesterday, the union held a press conference as members expressed outrage that only a portion of nurses have actually been paid. Union Vice President Janet Calfani says back in November, the union agreed to accept a proposal for salary increases and were supposed to receive lump sum payments of $1,000 in December. But since then, Calfani says only one group has received the payment.
Only the Nurses in Public Hospitals Authority received monies. They didn't receive the 1,000, they received an increment increase. One increment increase, which is short of 1,000. Okay. The nurses in the Department of Public Health received nothing. You know, the bottom line is, really, the nurses in the Department of Public Health needs to be paid. That's the bottom line. That's all. Needs to be paid. That's the bottom line.
Now, following that press conference, public health nurses went to the Ministry of Health headquarters where they demanded answers from Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez. Dr. Gomez says the issues with salary packages were dealt with in Cabinet on Tuesday afternoon, and he told nurses that they would be paid by the next pay period, which is the end of next month.
Bearing in mind that this has been coming overdue since 2010. Yes. And so we have gotten it done for you, and you will be paid. Now, Ms. Hamilton is asking that raise the issue about payment by voucher, but you'll have to deal with the Ministry of Finance on that.
The disabled community made 13 recommendations to the Constitutional Reform Commission yesterday as it continued its public consultations. President of the Bahamas National Council for Disability, Sheila Culmer, wants the word disability to be included in Article 15 of the Constitution, bearing in mind no one becomes disabled by choice. Additionally, she said a provision prohibiting discrimination should be included.
We recommend that the Constitution be amended to include an express provision mandating that persons with disability have access to adequate and appropriate transport, housing, health care, education, and other social amenities. We advise that there be inclusion of a constitutional provision for the establishment of an old age pension, survivors and invalidity insurance benefits pension scheme, fashioned on the Swiss constitutional model.
Well, coming up, teams hit the court looking for a championship. Find out who got one step closer.
And accused drug dealers head to court. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight in HD.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited, fueling growth for people.